I need a drink of my go-go juice.
Don't call it that.
That's what Honey Boo Boo calls it. Have you ever watched that show?
No. I'm really appalled that you know that fact.
I watched...
I'm thoroughly appalled.
I watched like an entire series of it once.
What?
I was having a bad day.
I was going to be really upset when you said entire episode, and now I don't know how to feel at all.
Megan, I think you should. I'm going to challenge you to watch one.
I'm just devoid of emotion.
Because it was hilarious.
I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. Hey, everybody. We're Magic the Amateuring, and we just learned some disappointing things about Maria.
Hey, Megan, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to tell you the truth right now.
Do you know what? I can't handle that truth.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead and put that out there.
That's fine.
Hey, everybody. I'm Megan. I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Maria. I'm another one of your hosts.
And we are the only two people in this room right now.
That's so true.
It's
just
completely
you
true.
And me
it's
and
just
nobody
you
else.
And me and nobody else.
We certainly don't have a special guest on this episode to talk about all of Oath of the Gatewatch cards.
No, we absolutely don't. If you're watching
no.
the video of this, that is merely a cardboard cutout.
Yes, we had one made. Quite expensive.
Yeah, it really is, just to make one.
It looks lifelike, though.
It really does. It has a nice three-dimensionality to it.
Yeah, we even put a Magic Judge shirt on it.
I was very forward-thinking of us.
Yeah, it was.
This way you can take it to tournaments and pretend like you have a judge watching your game so that your opponent doesn't try anything.
Ooh, nice. Good thought.
Do you know what? We should really produce and market this product.
We should. I'm going to turn to it, though.
Judge.
I'm going to be like, hello, I have a question, and then it's not going to say anything, and I'll be like, oh, and I'll get mad, and I'll slap it, and then it'll fall over.
And then you're going to get disqualified.
Yeah, because don't slap a judge.
Even if it's a cardboard cutout judge.
Nope, no judge slaps.
Talking to you about the important facts and rules about Magic the Gathering today.
Here on Magic the Amateuring, don't slap judges.
Yep, even if they're cardboard cutouts.
Well, with our cardboard cutout judge today, we'll be talking about Oath of the Gatewatch. A lot of new cards, a lot of new mechanics, a lot of new rules and interactions, and crazy questions you might have. You asked them on Twitter. You sent them in to magictheamateuring@gmail.com.
You kept them in your head, but thought them really hard at us.
Yes, I wrote all those down.
Figured them out
I
from
wrote
there.
those down.
Yep.
And, of course, the most important thing that we ever do on this podcast and that we ever have done or ever will do, we will name the cutest card in Oath of the Gatewatch as well as the grossest card.
Absolutely, because what would a set be without a cutest card?
I can't even think. I don't want to live in that world.
In a grossest card. Me neither.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's a dark, dark place.
Well, get ready. Buckle up, you guys, because it's all Oath of the Gatewatch all the time here on Magic the Amateuring this episode. Pull up your pants and pull down your
hat over your eyes. You don't need to see while listening to a podcast. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
We were maybe lying earlier when we said that there was no one else in the room.
We were actually lying for sure.
We were confirmed lying.
Confirmed.
Yes. We have a special guest today.
It's Judge Rob.
Hey, Judge Rob.
Oh, hi.
Rob, what were you reading?
Oh, I was reading Ursula K. Le Guin's The Tombs of Atuan. It's book 2 of the Earthsea trilogy.
Oh.
It's very good.
I just finished reading A Wizard of Earthsea not that long ago.
Excellent.
It was really good.
Have you read the trilogy before?
No, I haven't read all of them. I just read the one.
Okay. There's 4 books. There's Tehanu, which she wrote many years later.
Gotcha.
Which is all of the books are different from each other, and that one's different from the other ones.
Got it.
Got it.
If you're confused by this interaction, go online to Tulare Community College and watch our video. Rob was reading a book through the entire introduction.
Yes.
Yes.
Looking like a noble man.
Or a cardboard cutout of a judge that you shouldn't slap.
Mm-hmm. So, Rob, we brought you here today to tell us how it is. The truth of the truth. What's up with Oath of the Gatewatch? How do you feel as a judge? Is this set going to challenge you as a judge? Do you think it's pretty easy to understand? What do you think overall?
I think that they added a 6th color.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Well, they added colorless, which is kind of like adding a 6th color. And honestly, that's big. And it's weird. And people are going to be confused.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
I've seen a number of questions that suggest that people don't understand how colorless mana and generic mana work.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've talked about it on the show a little bit. but I think it's going to happen. Pre-releases everywhere. People are going to have this question. And
Absolutely.
if you, the listener, know how to deal with this, guess what? You'll be smarter and, dare I say, a better person for it.
Absolutely. You can also be an educator of the masses.
Yeah.
If you play against people who don't understand, you can be the person who kindly is like, actually, sir.
I was thinking that this was like a 6-color today when I was going through. I earlier, a few months ago, was playing a budget Eldrazi aggro deck in Standard, which is pretty cheap and kind of fun. And I was like, I wonder if any of these cards will fit into that deck. It turns out I don't really think there's a lot of them unless I was to change colors probably. But as I was thinking about it, I realized I was thinking of the colorless creatures as colorless and not like specifically colorless mana. And I was like, oh, just kidding. I added a 3rd color to this deck.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
So you're right. It is kind of like a 6-color. I guess it wasn't purple after all.
Yep. It was diamond.
Sorry, Meghn. I know you dyed your hair just for that.
That's what I dyed my hair for back in last May. Last May, I was like, it's coming. The 6th color, and it's going to be purple.
Hair. Purple hair. Purple hair. Anyway, don't sue me, Prince. Rob, do you want to just... is there anything you want to say about the new mechanics generically, like the new things that we're seeing from these cards, and then we can go into listener questions, because we did receive quite a few.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned colorless mana. Maybe we should say some stuff.
So let's talk about colorless mana. Let's talk about generic mana.
Let's talk about generic mana.
Let's talk about colorless mana.
Don't sue us, whoever's saying that song.
Yep.
So basically, the easiest way to think about it is if they added colorless as a 6th color. It's not a color, but for mana cost purposes, it really behaves like one. There's generic mana. Generic mana shows up only in costs, and previously they used the same symbol for both generic and colorless mana. So when you looked at Sol Ring, it was tap, add 2 to your mana pool, and it was a 2 in a circle, just like you'd see up in the upper right of say Vampire Nighthawk, which costs black, and 1 generic. And then they decided that they should split out what types of mana you make. So you can make mana that is just colorless, and you always could. And all the cards that just made colorless, like Sol Ring, make star, whatever you want to call it. The official name for the typographical symbol is asteroid. Yeah, but you can call it gray mana, you can call it colorless mana, and you can use that to spend on generic costs or on costs that require colorless mana.
My brain has a lot of gray mana. It's made of gray mana.
Not blue mana?
I was trying to make a gray matter joke, but it really didn't work. Continue.
And so costs can contain either colorless mana or generic mana. And colorless mana will use the asteroid symbol, and it'll have the same color of circle that it's in. So you can see that it's mana that doesn't have a color, but it has a symbol instead of a number. So it's, from that perspective, it's easy. If the people that are having problems with it, I think, didn't really understand how colorless and generic mana worked before, the colorless and generic mana have always been different. Generic is always a cost. It always means you can spend anything on it. It's like hybrid. You can't add hybrid mana to your mana pool. Hybrid mana is only in costs. If you see a white-green slashed mana symbol, you pay it with white or you pay it with green. Generic mana means you can pay it with any kind of mana at all that you want. And that's the same. It basically has all 5 mana symbols and now a colorless symbol in there. So you can spend anything on that. There are some things that would try to add hybrid to your mana pool. You can't add hybrid to your mana pool. If you tried to add hybrid, you picked one of the colors and added it. You can only add, there's only 6 types of mana that can be in your mana pool: white, blue, black, red, green, and colorless. And so I've seen questions from people that asked, can I use things that reduce generic mana costs to reduce colorless mana? And so like there's Heartless Summoning. Reduces the cost of your creature spells by 2 generic mana. That doesn't touch the colorless mana cost. So any of the colorless Eldrazi that's coming out, Kozilek, the Great Distortion has 2 colorless mana symbols. Heartless Summoning will not reduce those symbols away.
Oh, that was a good question. I actually didn't know the answer to that.
That's a good question,
and
for sure.
Yep, because Heartless Summoning only reduces generic, not colorless. And we have a cat.
Yes, there is a cat present.
So the That's the single largest thing. I disagree with how Wizards handled things. I think that the whole block should have been this way because now there's a whole lot of cards that add colorless mana that don't use the new symbol in the block. And in fact, I think they should have introduced it with Origins.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've introduced substantial rules changes with core sets fairly frequently in the past.
Okay.
And they should have just said, we're changing the mana system, guys. And then everybody goes, oh, that's because of Eldrazi 2, the Eldraziing. And then it doesn't do anything in the first
test
set.
name for the block.
And then in the first set, like, nothing uses it. And they go, oh, they were just changing it to make the system make sense. And then in the second set, they come in and smash you with it.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, this is important now. We slow rolled it.
Yeah, definition of slow rolling indeed. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head and said it in a way that I haven't heard it said yet, which is colorless mana in this way has always existed.
Yep.
We just didn't have a differentiation for it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like if we went back in the past, like lands that used to be able to tap for like one generic and then like a colored, like one generic and blue or a
Like
green.
Shivan Reef.
Exactly, like Shivan Reef. It's like, oh, psych, those actually were producing colorless mana all along.
Yep.
We just didn't have a word for it yet.
Yeah, well, we had a word for it. There's actually the reason that they started using the generic mana symbol to make colorless mana was they had a card in Odyssey block that added 1 green and 1 colorless to your mana pool. And in their when they were doing the templating out for it, they were like, this looks incredibly ugly. It's add green mana symbol and 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, because they always spelled it out before. They always used the words to say add colorless mana.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, why don't we just try writing it with colorless symbol or a generic symbol and green? Tap, add one generic, 1 green to your mana pool. People understand what that is. They ran it through their focus groups. The focus groups all understood it well enough, and they ran with it.
Huh.
And that was... It's not a mistake because it made cards read a lot cleaner over time. But if they're going to make the change and add a colorless mana symbol, that would have been a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Or somewhere around then, so that they could actually make that card function. They didn't plan as far ahead back in Odyssey. And so... when you look at some of the changes they've made in core sets, they changed the way that Convoke and and Delve worked well before they put Convoke and Delve back in sets.
Okay.
And so they made this change, and then they packed the change into a core set. And then they came by later and were like, surprise, it actually made a difference to cards that'll be in standard. And so that's the advantage of planning further ahead, is they can see these rules changes. And I liked it when they made their substantial rules changes once per year.
Gotcha.
Like making that on a more planned cycle is like, it breaks up the complexity, because when core sets existed, core sets always had the least amount of stuff going on rules wise.
Yeah.
And
So
so
it would be like, we're not throwing a lot of new mechanics or stuff like that at you, but we are going to throw these big rule changes at you.
We're going to remove mana burn during a core set. And
Speaking of mana burn, sorry everybody, I'm still sick. I'm fighting my way through the phlegm.
Gross.
You're welcome. Speaking of mana burn, I just wanted to clarify something from our last episode. Megan and I were talking about mana drain, the counter spell.
Yep.
And we were like, how did they ever print mana drain? That card is seriously broken. And people on Twitter let us know, well, that was back when mana burn was a thing. So like, if they didn't use all that mana that they got from you, they got burned by it.
Still not the biggest drawback in the world.
No, I agree. But nowadays it's just straight upside.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a weird side note, but I wanted to point that out.
It was a nominal drawback.
Yeah.
It was like, this theoretically could hurt you, but realistically, it's just like add 5 mana to your mana pool.
Just like Channel was like, oh, I mean, you lose life.
Yeah. Fast bond. You make extra land drops, and for every land drop past the first, you lose a life.
Oh, no.
Darn.
That's so bad.
It's like Bob, right? Oh, I draw a card off the top and lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Oh, no.
Oh, that's terrible.
I used to not understand why that was good. Now I know.
Yeah. All right, Maria, what are you looking up over there? What you
I was
Googling?
looking up the mechanics from this set. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Do you have a particular one you want to start with, Rob?
I wanted to start with Surge, because Surge is awesome.
Everyone starts with Surge, especially if you're a kid in 1995.
Maria, we already made a bunch of Surge jokes. Pack it away.
I can't.
Pack it away.
I can't.
We can't go over old material.
We had a listener who had a question specifically about Surge, and it was, if I spill my can of Surge on my creature with Surge, then can I pay the Surge cost?
Like your creature's on the battlefield
Actually,
already?
I should actually read it. I can't find where it is.
Okay.
Control F for the word surge.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Search within the page.
Oh, here we go. Let's say I spill a bottle of Surge on a card during pre-release. Does that card then have Surge on it?
Oh, does it add surge to a card that didn't normally have surge?
Great question.
Well, no. According to the rules,
All right.
if your opponent's fine with it, it's not right. They might call over a judge, but my rule is have fun. So if your opponent's like, that sounds awesome,
Perfect.
and nobody else thinks that it's a problem, do it. I can't condone doing it. I can't condone actively breaking the rules, but you ask your opponent, can I surge this? And they go, yeah, you just ruined your Linvala. Sure. That's fine.
Okay, you can read what Surge is and tell us what it does. We have one other question regarding Surge, but go ahead.
So Surge is basically a different way to cast a spell. It's an alternative cost, kind of like Awaken was. And it's Surge and some cost. And you can cast the spell for its Surge cost if you or a teammate has cast another spell this turn.
Right.
And it's the first time we've seen the word teammate since whatever that Mask from Future site was. They gave your teammates copies of it for...
Oh.
Yeah. There was one card in Future Sight that mentioned the word teammate. And otherwise, we have been devoid of team-related cards for a while. Well, things that shout team-related for a while.
Yeah.
And so Surge also has things that care about whether or not you paid them for their Surge cost. Mm-hmm. My example card is Crush of Tentacles. It normally costs blue 4 for a sorcery. Mm-hmm. And it has a Surge cost of blue 3. So if you played another spell or your teammate has played a spell,
yeah,
then you get to pay it for only 5 mana. And it says, return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands.
Sweet.
Yep. Play that card. if Crush of Tentacles Surge cost is paid, put an 8/8 blue octopus creature token onto the battlefield.
I love 8/8 octopuses.
Yes. So, yeah, getting to Surge Crush of Tentacles is really good. Like, you'll probably play it anyways because it's 6 mana and pick up all their permanents. But,
yeah,
like, it's also... sometimes 5 mana make
this
an 8
card's
octopus.
a mythic, PS, just FYI.
Yeah, it's mythic. You are not likely to see it much in limited because it's ridiculous.
I found that mask card you were talking about.
Oh, Imperial Mask.
Yeah. Yes, when Imperial Mask enters the battlefield, if it's not a token, each of your teammates puts a token that's a copy of Imperial Mask onto the battlefield. You have hexproof. The creepiest art I've ever seen on a card. She's wearing somebody else's skin.
What?
Yeah.
Look
Move
at that.
over.
Yes.
Your head is in the way. What?
Yep. She's wearing a mask made of somebody else's skin.
Creepy. Creepy as...
She's an empress. She can do what she wants.
Including skin people's faces?
Yep.
Who's
and
gonna
wear them as her own?
Yeah. Who's gonna challenge her?
What moral code do you live by, sir?
It's not a moral code. It's a legal code.
Okay, I see what you're saying. She answers to no one.
Yep.
Legally, there's no one to stop her from doing that. She's an empress.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, it's just like Elizabeth II said. You can't stop me from cutting off other people's faces and wearing them as masks.
My favorite empress.
Yeah. Classic Elizabeth II quote. Classic.
This is a question a listener has about Surge that's very basic. For the purposes of Surge, what counts as a spell?
So playing lands aren't spells. Everything else is a spell. If you cast a card, so if you move it from your hand and pay it some mana cost and do some stuff with it, in Zendikar block, it's going to be cast. That includes Awaken. Awaken says you may cast the spell for its Awaken cost. It says you're casting it.
Yep.
There are some old cards that let you discard them and pay some mana to do an effect. If you do that, you aren't casting it.
Correct. Okay, so yeah, a spell sometimes is a funny way to put something because it seems like, oh, maybe you only mean an instant or a sorcery or whatever.
Yep.
But also creatures are spells.
Yeah.
They're all spells.
It's all spells,
So
man.
are planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Artifacts are spells.
Artifacts. Equipment.
Enchantments. All equipments are artifacts.
Whatever. I'm going to make the first equipment that's not an artifact.
What is it?
It's called Cloak of the Loom. It's called Cloak of the Loom, and you wear it, and it's not an artifact because it's made of fabric, so it can't be metal. It's not like a sword.
But what card type is it?
Equipment.
But okay, you're thinking of artifact as like specifically something made out of metal, but I'm going to ask you to think about artifact in the anthropological sense, in which case a cloak is an artifact.
I understand. I'm just saying for the sake of the game, I feel like in a future set, we're going to have artifacts that are not...
equipment that are not artifacts?
Equipments that are not artifacts.
I don't know.
That's mostly taken up by auras. There's not a lot of space for...
Yeah, I see what you're saying in Aura, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we do kind of have equipment-ish things. Soul Bond from Alara Reborn. Or not Alara Reborn, from Avacyn Restored,
Yeah.
the other A set.
Just think of it like clothes. So there's going to be like the cloaks and there's going to be like socks.
So it's going to be card type clothes.
Yeah, and it's going to be like coat and arm, gloves, but soft gloves made of lamb's fur.
So we were talking
Lamb's
about Surge.
fur.
I want to tell you something. I have predicted so many cards correctly on this show that if this
I'm
doesn't
just
happen,
telling
I will
you
be genuinely
But
surprised.
there are already gloves.
Yeah, no, when I said gloves, I was like, oh no, they already
I
exist.
think there's already cloaks too.
Yeah, Rogue's Gloves, Whisper Silk Cloak.
Dang it. These are specifically made of cotton. Okay, sorry.
You're right, that makes it. We were
Sorry.
talking about Surge.
So, Surge! That's really all that I have to say about
Yeah,
Surge.
it's pretty straightforward.
All right, pretty
Yep,
straightforward.
Surge says what it does in the card. I think, the only mythic with Surge has reminder text.
Yeah.
So.
Surge, you're still casting the card.
Yep.
You still it can still be countered.
But
Yep.
you still cast it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is one other notable Surge card, Fall of the Titans.
Oh, okay.
Every X on a card is the same if you haven't seen cards with multiple X's.
Okay.
So Fall of the Titans is red XX. Fall of the Titan deals X damage to each of up to two... Sorry. So Fall of the Titans deals X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures and or players.
Okay.
And you can pay a surge cost of red and X. So if you cast another spell this turn, you get to knock one of those X's off the mana cost.
Gotcha.
In order to like reduce its cost by about half.
Yeah.
I have a question
Ooh.
from a listener that was pertaining to the colorless mana.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question's regarding Eye of Eugene and if it can pay for the colorless pip, that's cute, on Reality Smasher.
So this is what I talked about with Heartless Summoning a little bit. Eugene's Eye is just, it reduces the colorless cost on spells.
Okay.
And so let me make sure that I'm thinking of the right one. That I'm not thinking of Eldrazi Temple.
Eye of Eugene, it reduces the cost of Eldrazi by 2.
Yep.
And you can tap it and pay 7 and go find a big Eldrazi or something.
Gotcha. So, like, as far as the reducing cost part, that pertains to what Rob was saying earlier. It reduces it by 2 generic, not 2 asteroids.
Yes.
Asteroids.
Yep. We could conceivably see things that reduce things by their colorless mana component.
Yeah.
And those would not do a lot for most cards because they wouldn't reduce generic costs. So there's a couple of cards that reduce things by colored costs. There's Edgewalker and Ragemonger. No, not. Is it Ragemonger? There's a Minotaur that reduces all Minotaur by red-black.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah,
And so he doesn't affect colorless costs or generic costs.
Yeah.
Right. And so he wouldn't affect the generic cost of a spell. Something that reduces something by a colorless mana symbol also wouldn't touch the generic cost.
Oh, interesting. So they would never reprint Eye of Eugene to say Eldrazi spells cost asteroid less to cast.
Yep, because
that would only affect asteroids in the mana
Exactly.
cost.
Yes.
It's really fun to call them asteroids.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that out there, you
Asteroids.
guys.
Here's a question that's sort of about Surge. When you target the spell in your graveyard from Goblin Dark Dwellers, ETB trigger, enter the battlefield trigger, do you have to cast it immediately or can you save it for later, possibly to enable Surge on another card?
So, Goblin Dark Dwellers, that people have the text, it's a 4/4 for red 3. It has Menace. And when Goblin Dark Dwellers enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Because it doesn't set up a duration that you can cast it in. It says cast it now or lose it. So
Gotcha.
You get to cast your spell right now with Goblin Dark Dwellers. If you elect not to cast it, too bad. Missed your chance. You can't hold on to it for later.
Okay. This one is sort of about colorless. I know that wastes don't have a basic land type, so they can't be fetched with many spells or abilities, but are there any spells or abilities in Oath or Battle that can fetch them? I'm thinking specifically of Loam Larva and Evolving Wilds.
Yes, anything that searches for a basic land will search for wastes, and I know that there's specifically one here. Let me scroll down into the green cards a little bit.
So Evolving Wilds can search for waste.
Yeah.
Yes, because it says search for a basic land card, and it's
Gotcha.
a basic land card.
Yep.
Gotcha.
There's Loam Larva. It is a 1/3 insect for green and 1. When Loam Larva enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. A Loam Larva will let you find wastes.
Cool.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
What if you woke up to a Loam Larva, like, in your sheets?
What kind of scale is this? Is this bigger than my bed?
I don't know. It could
This
be
might be
huge.
bigger than my
Isn't
bed.
it disgusting? Megan can't even look at it. Good
Glistens.
job,
That's
wizards.
pretty good work. Who did that?
Away.
It glistens.
Jason Kang.
Once Megan was so scared of a specific bug, she had to ask somebody else to Google if it lived in Minnesota because she didn't want to see the pictures of it.
That's very true. Look, it was really relevant. I needed to know it's silverfish, and I needed to know if silverfish were able to live in Minnesota
Are
or
they?
not. They are.
Yes.
It's the unfortunate thing. But I texted someone, can you Google, do silverfish live in Minnesota?
And then I was like, why is she so scared? And then I Googled it and I was like, Mother of God.
Yes, and here's something. Okay, so and then I was telling someone else a story recently, and they were like they Googled pictures, and they're like, this isn't so bad. You have to see a video. You have to watch it move.
No.
Oh, with
because
the,
it's how
with
they because they're
the
like
articulated. Yeah.
Sick. That's how Loam Larva move. Uh-oh, we lost Megan. We lost her.
So the next thing that I want to talk about is cohort.
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 And Megan, I bet a lot of silverfish cohort together under your
I wonder if
floor.
there's any ally insects. Cohort. Let's look at Munda's Vanguard, who is cohort. It is a 3/3 for white and 4. It is a core knight ally, and it has cohort, which is in italics, and it's before the activated ability. That means it's an ability word, and it's in italics, so you can ignore it. It's reminder text. But the cohort's just to let you know that all cohorts behave the same.
Gotcha.
It has the tap symbol, and then it spells out tap an untapped ally you control. And it puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
And we mentioned this on the show, but I want to say it again because I think that it's something easy to screw up if you haven't been studying these cards. You have to tap two. Two peeps need to be tapped for this to happen.
Yep, himself and a friend.
Yep.
The one interesting thing, that friend can have summoning sickness.
Yeah.
What?
So summoning sickness stops you from using abilities with the tap symbol for that creature, and it stops you from attacking with that creature. But this doesn't use the tap symbol to describe that other creature. It says tap an untapped ally you control. It spells it out.
It's kind of like Springleaf Drum, correct?
Yes, it's just like Springleaf Drum.
That's magical.
Yep, it's really awesome. Munda's Vanguard says your allies kind of sort of have haste to join my cohort.
Wow. Forget doctors. If you're a cohort, you cure any sickness.
Is there a cohort that actually kills things?
No,
Probably not.
Oh, there's
unfortunately
a
not.
cohort that makes target opponent lose 2 life. That's kind of like
Yeah,
killing
that's
things.
pretty sweet. And there's another one that pings for 1, I think.
Oh yeah, there's a red one. Yep.
So Munda's Vanguard cannot itself have summoning sickness to
Yes.
use this tap ability.
Yep, because it is a tap symbol to describe what.
Yeah,
What it needs to
they're
do.
doing.
Yep.
But their buddy can have summoning sickness.
Correct.
Or if their
Wow.
buddy is an ally and has a cohort ability and isn't summoning sick, but Munda's Vanguard is, you can tap that buddy for that buddy's cohort ability
Yep.
and use Munda as their
Yeah.
friend.
This
Lots
is
of
a
friends.
speaking of losing a life, here's a question. In Two-Headed Giant, does Cliffhaven Vampire's ability cause each opponent sitting across from you to lose 1 life?
That's a good question. Let's
Specifically,
look at
or
Cliffhaven
not
Vampire.
specifically sitting across from you. They could be sitting anywhere if they're your opponent.
Is Cliffhaven Vampire the black white
Sometimes
one?
your opponents sit behind you.
Sometimes they sit on your lap. That's a strange game. Usually played inside your home.
Keep going. There he
Cliffhaven's
is.
the black white one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cliffhaven Vampire is a 2/4 for black white 2. It has flying, and whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So it's going to get both of your opponents. Because it says each opponent, you have 2 opponents in Two-Headed Giant. You have 1 you, you have you and a teammate, and there's 2 opponents.
Gotcha.
So,
Sorry, I thought that was going to be an ally question. Turned out it wasn't.
oh, well, it is an
Anyway.
ally. But yeah, I was gonna mention two-headed giant stuff a little bit later. But
Okay.
yeah, this is like the two-headed giant stuff is, if you remember that you have two opponents, one you, one teammate, and a single life total, that covers like 90% of the confusing things that come up in two-headed giant.
Right, and your surge into a giant is obviously better than when you're playing by yourself because it counts both you and your teammate.
Yep. Your
So-
teammate can let you crush up tentacles all of your other people's permanents.
Okay. Sorry, pardon the interruption.
No worries.
Go on.
That was pretty much what I had to say about cohort. I just wanted to make sure people understood how summoning sickness worked.
Sweet. That's good
So-
to know.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. And you can do it at instant speed.
Yep.
Sweet.
So keep that in mind, everybody, when you want to sneak in and get your opponent. Boom, tap, tap, counters or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if one of them puts counters. Maybe? I'm not sure.
All right. And what next?
I wanted to touch on the oaths because they're awesome. Wizards has really started to call out planeswalkers on cards, and they've decided they wanted to form a Justice League, and so that's what they're doing.
They
Yeah,
were like, hey,
yeah.
the Avengers are popular.
Yep.
Might as well.
Yeah. And so they assembled 4 out of the 5 colors. They fell down on assigning a black planeswalker to come to Zendikar, and so we don't have a black mana member of the Justice League, which just reinforces the trope that
Justice,
black
I
is
mean,
evil.
yeah.
Yeah.
Black is evil.
Or
Black is
quite
evil.
selfish.
Yeah. I mean, black is selfish, but you can have selfish members of the Justice League. Booster Gold is a selfish bastard. Like,
Okay.
he came back from the future to make money.
Fair enough. Or
Question.
like arguably Soren when he went to go be
Yeah,
like,
that was gonna ask.
Eugene, what's the what? He's only worried about the Eldrazi escaping because he really hurts Innistrad.
Yep.
And he's like, oh no, if they eat Zendikar, they might come to Innistrad someday.
Yep.
That's the only reason why he had to,
Yeah, the capturing the Eldrazi thing, he went and hunted up somebody else's house to hide them in. He said, your house is really big. Can the Eldrazi stay there, like, just for a millennia or two?
Okay, wait. Question. Are planes different sizes?
Well, think about planets, Megan. Is Earth the same size as Pluto?
I mean, no, but planets are not planes.
Aren't they?
Canonically, they have been different sizes, but only, like, for sure the artificial ones are smaller. Like, Sarah's Realm and Mirrodin are clearly smaller than other planes. And, like, some of them are finite-sized and some of them are infinite-sized.
What?
Yeah, Dominaria has continents, where the Phyrexia, where Wrath was very small and then expanded out.
Okay.
They used Flowstone to build out a humongous Flowstone area, put all the Phyrexians on it, and then
Terraforming.
yeah, yes. So
Wow.
yeah, they've had different sizes of planes, including variable sizes.
Megan, let me ask you
What
this.
if they have one that's really that's this big one day?
That's what I'm saying. That's Men in Black. We're
Doing a
inside
tiny
the
plane.
inside the marble.
I mean, I literally want a plane that's like 5x5.
But we don't know until the end, and then the camera zooms out, and we're like, "Holy
Zooms out,
shit!"
and it's like, Jesus, this big.
Segovia exists.
Or is that tiny?
Segovian Leviathan's
What?
only a 3/3.
Oh,
okay.
So it's got to be
Yes.
a Leviathan somewhere.
Yep, and there's one of the planechase planes is the Hippodrome, which is on Segovia, and all creatures get -5/-0, which is the effect of the card Shrink.
That sounds small.
Yep.
Wow.
Cool.
I'm very excited about this potentially tiny plane.
It exists. It's already out there. So I just wanted to touch on the oaths because they call out planeswalkers and they're legendary. They all say when they enter the battlefield, do something. They all have an upside if you don't have a planeswalker in your library, and they're all actually just fine with no planeswalkers. Like Oath of Gideon makes 2 1/1s. Oath of Jace says draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards. Probably was brainstorm at some point in development. That's it. That's what it looks like to me. Oath of Chandra deals 3 damage to target creature an opponent controls when it comes out. And Oath of Nissa has a lot of words.
Ponder.
Yes, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker from among them and put them in your hand, and put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order.
I mean, it definitely has a lot of parameters that Ponder doesn't.
Yes.
True.
And it definitely doesn't let you shuffle your library.
Well, it kind of does. It puts the cards away if you don't want any of them.
That's true.
Mini shuffle.
You're guaranteed not to get them back. If you didn't want them, get rid of them. And then they all do something positive for planeswalkers while they're on the battlefield. So like Oath of Gideon says, each planeswalker you control enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it.
Ooh.
Which for Gideon himself is ridiculous.
Yeah, we were talking about that on a previous show. We were like, oh, then you can minus him, where normally he would be dead to get an emblem, but now he's not going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then he just fights a bunch with the emblem boosting him.
Oh, snap.
Oath of Jace lets you scry for your planeswalkers. Oath of Chandra lights things on fire at the beginning of each end step. If a planeswalker enters the battlefield under your control this turn, Oath of Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent.
Ooh.
And then Oath of Nissa lets you cast planeswalkers for any color of mana.
Yeah, these are all very different from each other, and I think just playable. You can play them if you want. They're not bad.
Yep.
I don't think they're insane, but in limited. But
Yep.
go ahead, throw them in. I know somebody who put Oath of Gideon in their deck when they were building a very strong ally themed deck. I think it was Gabby Sparts who was playing in the Two-Headed Giant at GP Oakland. Put this in her ally deck. So
Very cool.
she said
oh, because they had that super pre-release.
They had the
Yeah.
super pre-release.
super.
And so, yeah, they're just all quite fine. They're cards that mention planeswalkers. There's also the Justice League needs a hotline called the Gatewatch. Call the Gatewatch is
I
search
get
for a
it.
planeswalker and put it in your hand. Costs white and 2. Sorcery.
Every time I open that in a draft, I'm just gonna cry. I'm just gonna cry.
But on the bright side, I mean, you can call them and complain about, whatever isn't working.
That's true.
Yes.
Hey, give me a different rare.
Excuse
Click.
me. Hello.
Well, it's bad and limited, but that actually might be really good and constructed.
Yeah, I mean, having 4 copies,
Tutor.
having 8 copies of Jace. Well, wait, this isn't gonna be able to go get Jace.
It won't get baby Jace.
It won't get tiny Jace.
Yeah. Adolescent Jace.
Adolescent, sure. It won't
Moody
get.
adolescent.
It won't get teen Jace.
Teen Jace.
Teen J sounds like a horrible movie.
It does sound like a terrible movie.
Does it star Justin
Confirmed.
Bieber?
Yes, that's what the magic movie is gonna be.
Justin Bieber as Teen Jace.
Justin Bieber is Teen Jace.
With like a little action figure. Goes with my teen Barbie.
No.
Teen Jason Skipper.
But yeah, if you really love Obnixilis, you can have 8 copies of him.
Perfect.
Yes. This
Yeah.
is the thing you could do.
All right,
Or
Rob,
Gideon.
what's next?
There we go. That's an actual card that some decks would want to have 8 copies of if
Yes.
they could.
There's a bunch of just cards that do what they say for the most part. The rares are all much more interesting. The single most interesting one is probably Hedron alignment.
We talked about that joke of a card.
I think it's actually quite fine. So the alternate win condition is mostly just not a thing. It doesn't have any text. It's a blue and 2 enchantment hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal your hand. If you do, you win the game if you own a card named Hedron alignment in exile, your hand, in your graveyard, and on the battlefield. And this is going to be a pain. This is going to be terrible on Magic Online.
Oh, God.
Because it's going to trigger every upkeep. It doesn't have an intervening if
that's what
clause.
I asked.
And then sometimes you might accidentally hit yes and reveal your hand to your opponent.
In terms of things that you would never do in real life that you would do online.
Oh, shoot. Oh, whoops. I just showed you my hand.
Oh, trigger. Oh, God, I didn't mean to do that.
I just dropped these on the table.
Crap.
Ah,
Shit.
we should make a video called when Moto is real life.
Yeah.
And then that card's like, oh, what no. F6 to your turn. No, hold on. You're like trying to pull the turn back.
You're trying to F3.
F3. I have spells to cast.
It's not as bad as what's her name? There's a legendary flip creature from Kamigawa block that has an activated ability that's cost is reveal your hand. And if you clicked on her at the wrong time because you thought you were attacking, but it was still your main phase, you just revealed your hand. Just click on her, reveal your hand.
So the card basically
Here you
says,
go.
click on this card, reveal your hand.
Yes.
Perfect.
Which is a little more obnoxious.
You like this card though because you can scry.
Yeah, the last ability is blue and 1, scry 1. And so I'm actually going to be playing it in Commander. My Melik Is It Paragon deck wants more ways to scry repeatedly. It's playing whatever ways it can right now, and Hedron Alignment just does that. It's like having another copy of Crystal Ball and Eyes of the Watcher.
Fair
So,
enough.
I don't care about the rest of the text. I care that I get to pay balloon 1 and scry 1. And so that's you may see it randomly for that effect, because that's actually a pretty reasonable piece of
That's
text.
reasonable.
We talked about Goblin Dark Dwellers already, which was the other interesting one that casts things. There's a lot of land animation in this set,
Ooh,
just like the
yeah.
last one. And there are a couple of creatures, Embodiment of Fury and Embodiment of Insight, that say land creatures you control have an ability.
Yes, this does not mean
yeah.
creatures without flying. It means
Yes.
lands.
Yes.
I've made this error.
Yes. Land creatures are creatures that are also lands.
Yes. Hear that, Maria?
I know. It's
Okay.
so funny, though, because, like, when I think about it, it's so obvious. Because, like, it's like land creatures have flying. You could just say creatures have flying. I'm thinking of Halimar Tidecaller, which is the card I'm
Yes.
making a mistake with.
Yeah.
But
Because it would give all of the the creatures that already have
Oh,
flying,
God.
also flying.
Yep, double flying. Anyway,
Um,
do you want to mention support at all? I mean, it's
Oh yeah,
fairly
we should probably
straightforward.
talk about support. It's a little less straightforward than you'd think. Support says support and a number. Whenever things talk about it, let me pull up a support card so that I can read its reminder text to everyone. Support 2. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So that's on a sorcery, Nissa's Judgment. And so support is a keyword action. It's similar to Scry. It's a keyword action that targets, and it just has a number following it. And that's how many creatures are going to get +1/+1 counters. If support is on a creature, it means another. It means other. You can do it to other creatures. You can't do it to the creature that has support itself. It helps its friends to the point where it doesn't help itself.
and like so many
Oh,
of
it's
us,
like a
it just
Minnesotan.
can't help itself.
Yeah.
So question, it also says up to each
Yep.
of 2. So if you only have one other creature,
You can still
use
support
this
it.
and you'll
Yep.
support it. And if say, if you play this card and you have 2 creatures, but in response your opponent kills one of them, you can still support the other creature.
Yeah, you have to choose the targets for the spell when you cast it. So Nissa's Judgment here says it's green and 4 sorcery, support 2. Choose up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals damage equal to its power to that creature.
Okay.
So if they kill one of your support creatures, it still resolves because it still has targets.
Gotcha.
And it'll support whatever creatures you targeted.
Like if I had, fake boobs made of water and you popped one of them, my bra's still going to support the other boob. I think that.
Don't get fake boobs made of water. I'm just gonna put that out there. I just want to suggest that.
It's like a waterbed except in my chest.
I can get behind this.
I think my metaphor explains everything just fine.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Great.
So,
I can't remember if there's any other mechanic that's coming in with
no,
this.
those are the new ones that came in this set. I had completely
Okay.
forgotten about support because,
It's pretty basic.
yeah, it's mostly straightforward.
Okay.
You have things that cost colorless mana symbol. Mm-hmm. They cost colorless mana symbol. You can't pay for them with forests.
Yeah, and those colorless mana symbols, the wastes,
You waste
asteroids.
them. Yes.
Wastes will be lands that you have to draft during the draft.
Yep. Or open and sealed.
Or open and sealed. They will not be available at basic.
Yeah,
land
that's so
stations,
crazy.
and you
I don't know how.
can't just take.
Do you
them.
know how often they're going to be in packs? They're at common.
What it looks
No
like is they have
idea.
2 different arts, so they're going to be twice as common as other commons.
Okay.
That would be
Oh.
my guess. Is that waste appears twice as frequently because they have 2 distinct arts.
Ah.
Like I don't know without actually, but that would be my guess, which is
Yeah.
the reason why they have 2 arts.
Okay.
They lasted the lands that mattered that you had to pick up in the common slot with snow lands and cold snap,
Yeah.
and because there were 5 of those, they showed up fairly frequently.
Oh, that's a good.
And
Yeah.
so waste is going to be in a similar boat, and it's a small set, and commons and small sets tend to be very frequent.
Word.
Basically.
All right.
Yeah.
I've got some questions for you. Listener question time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is a question from Root of All Potatoes. Great name. Press into service. Can I put the counters on the creature I'm targeting, or do I technically not control the creature yet?
So press into service. Let's scroll
I
up to that
remember
here.
thinking about this when I read the card for the
So
first time.
press into service is red and 4 sorcery, support 2. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Like I mentioned before, you choose targets at the time that you cast the spell.
Okay.
So these creatures have to be on the battlefield under your control at the time that you cast Press into Service.
Gotcha.
And then it says gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. So you don't gain control of that creature until Press into Service resolves. And so you don't have it at the time that you cast the spell in order to put counters on it. Or in order
Gotcha.
to choose it as a target.
Makes sense.
Nice.
Okay. Will Kalida's ability trigger if I have Anafenza the Foremost? What about Leyline of the Void?
Kalitas or Kalitas.
Oh, Kalitas. Okay.
I like Kalitas. It sounds cooler.
Yeah, that's Kalita sounds like a lady. Kalitas sounds like a demon.
Kalitas sounds like Kalima.
Yeah, you're right.
So Kalitas, Trader of Get. He is a black 2 legendary creature vampire warrior. He's
Scary.
a 3/4. He has lifelink, which he's an efficient lifelinker, which is always interesting. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And then 2 black and 2 sacrifice another vampire or zombie, put 2+1/+1 counters on Kalitas, Trader of Get. So he doesn't have a triggered ability. They say something about it triggering. He doesn't trigger. He says if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card. So just like Anafenza the Foremost, he replaces that creature going to the graveyard with that creature going to exile. And if your opponent's creature is the one that is moving and you have both him and Anafenza on the battlefield, then because they're the thing that is they control the permanent that's being impacted by this replacement effect, they get to choose which one applies first.
Ooh.
So it is likely that they will choose Anafenza's first. And if they choose Anafenza's first, then Kalitas does not get to make a 2/2 black zombie.
So important. If someone else has Anafenza and Trader of Get,
Yes.
you should be like Anafenza first.
Yep. I'll exile it to Anafenza. That's fine.
She is the foremost.
Yes.
So
She is the foremost.
let's let her do what her title says.
Yep.
What if like you control this traitor and they control Anafenza?
If you control a traitor, you're probably somebody on Game of Thrones.
If I control a traitor and they control Anafenza, they don't touch each other at all. Anafenza affects my cards and Kalitas would affect your cards.
I thought Anafenza affects all cards.
Does she affect all cards?
I think
Am misremembering?
Anafenza affects all cards.
Let me look.
I could be wrong.
I could also be wrong.
I've
I've been wrong plenty of times before.
Whenever Anafenza attacks, put a 1/1 counter on
Would be put
another.
into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere.
Oh, all right.
And Leyline of the
Never
Void
mind.
has the same kind of text where it says instead of doing a thing, do a different thing. So instead of stuff going to the graveyard, exile it. It's the same as Kalitas
Okay.
and Anafenza. So you get to choose. Your opponent gets to choose which one applies to them first.
Okay. Question about Inverter of Truth. That were exiled. Cards exiled off Inverter of Truth. They're exiled face down.
Correct.
So can you process them? We were wondering about this on an earlier show.
There are 2 types of processors. There's processors that process any card, and processors that process specific cards. Processors that process any cards, you pick a card at random. It can be face up or face down. You know what it is if it's face up. You don't know what it is if it's face down. You put it into the graveyard. You're good. Things that have a specific thing that they're trying to process, those face down cards don't have that characteristic. Face down cards in Exile don't have any characteristics.
Gotcha.
And so Oblivion Sower, they've Inverter of Truth, they've exiled their library. You know there's lands in there.
Yeah.
You can't get them.
Drat.
So Matt Tabak says you can process face down cards. You just have to do so somewhat randomly.
Yep. So yeah, with Inverter, it'll invert your library away. So it exiles your library face down when it enters the battlefield, among some other things that it does.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
If you process a face down card into their graveyard,
Does it go face up?
does it remain face down or does it go face up?
It's a new card anytime it moves on. So it's
Okay.
so
Oh,
it
yeah,
turns
that's
face
right.
up.
Face up.
Okay.
Very cool.
Kozilek's Translator. If I flicker /bounce /reanimate it, it's used this only once, resets, right? Because it's technically a new card? Question mark?
Correct.
Yep.
Kozilek's Translator.
Yeah, it's the one that has a little rainbow pool floating.
Yep. I just don't
behind
remember what color it is.
Oh, I think it's colorless.
I wanted to say colorless.
You don't see it down in the
No,
colorless.
I agree.
It's Pathfinder.
Okay, never mind.
If I was a translator, I would probably be blue.
True.
We should have done this with
True.
the one that goes in alphabetical order.
Usually color is pretty good at this, but
I'll find it.
Got
Wait,
it. It's black.
Yep, there it
Yep.
is.
Black,
Pay
okay.
1 life, add asteroid to your mana pool. Activate this ability only once each turn. Yep. If you flicker him, that resets.
Sweet.
All right. What about Goblin Dark Dweller's ability targeting a split card, such as Boom, Bust?
So, split cards are really interesting.
Yeah, really a pain in my ass.
Yep. So the thing to remember about split cards, when they're not on the stack, they have both sets of characteristics at the same time.
Okay.
So Boom Bust costs both red and 1 and red and 5.
Weird.
Okay.
And so Goblin Dark Dwellers asks it, do you have a converted mana cost of 3 or less? And Boom Bust says, yes, and also no, but you care about the yes. And so Goblin Dark Dwellers would get to cast Boom Bust out of the graveyard.
Okay. And could it cast what about like a card with 2 halves? Like
Boom Bust is a split card. It has 2 halves.
Okay.
So the Goblin Dark Dwellers would point at it and would say, I want to cast you. You have a converted mana cost of 3 or less, right?
Okay.
And then you go to cast it, and Boom Bust says, hey, when you're casting me, you get to choose which side you cast.
Ooh.
And you're like, I'll pick Bust.
Oh, wow.
Wreck all the lands.
Value Town.
This
Yeah.
is it. So this has come up before with Cascade cards. Cascading into Boom Bust is pretty sweet because you can cascade into it with mostly anything and then wreck all the lands.
Nice.
Cool.
Which is another vote for Bloodbraid Elf being back in Modern, because then I'd get to play Armageddon in Modern.
All right, get off your soapbox.
I like land destruction, man. Well, I like it when I get to destroy everybody's lands and then attack with a 3.
Monster.
Like
Does-
I like games ending.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
If you must. Does Seed Guardian count itself? Is that a card in this set?
Yeah, Seed
yeah,
Guardian.
it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
Seed
big
Guardians.
bush.
Yeah, well, I think it might be a dude hiding in a bush. I think he's wearing camouflage.
Oh,
What?
Those are eyes.
There's somebody in there.
Where? No, look, it has these glowing elemental eyes.
Oh, those are different
Oh,
eyes?
you're
Is it
right.
a guy disguised as an elemental?
No, it's not. This is like, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. I think that's the seed that it's guarding with all these leaves.
Oh,
Oh.
you're right.
Nailed it.
It was like voiceover surgeons. I didn't see that it was a man's body on like with a deer's head. I only saw the deer's head for the longest time.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah, the first time I
How
looked at
can
it, I
you
only saw
not
that.
see the man's body?
I don't know, but I just didn't.
Because it's an inch high.
I see a man's body in everything.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem.
Let's take an ink blotter test, shall we?
So, Seed Guardian. It's a 3/4 for green, and 2 creature elemental with reach. When it dies, put an XX green elemental creature token onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Yep, it dies. It's now in your graveyard. The trigger checks how many creatures you have in your graveyard at the time it resolves. So it's possible that if Seed Guardian is the only creature in your graveyard, and then they exile it with something, there's black and 2 target player exiles a card in their graveyard.
Okay.
They make an Eldrazi spawn and
Yeah.
get some pie or something. And so
My kind
if
of
they
card.
exile the Seed Guardian, then you'd make a 0/0 because
Yeah.
it makes the XX based on the
Gotcha.
cards in the graveyard at the time it resolves.
I just want to take a moment to plug my new line of condoms, Seed Guardian. You can pick them up at your local CVS. Here's a question.
Yeah. That was.
Do they come in?
right there? No, that's right there. To be fair, that
Okay.
one's right there.
I mean,
Yep.
I used to do euphemism of the week with all these cards, which I could do again, but they're just making it too easy for
Yeah,
me.
that one was-
honestly.
Well, it's so on this list. It's right next to Reckless Bushwhacker. So,
too
like,
easy, wizards.
yeah.
Too easy. Why do you make this so easy? Restless. Wow.
no,
Reckless.
Reckless.
Reckless. Okay. Well, yeah, you definitely need a
Even-
Seed Guardian. Jeez. Be safe out there.
Well, what is it? Okay. Continuing.
Arguably, a reckless bushwhacker wouldn't have a seed guardian.
If you put them in the same deck, your deck's illegal. It's
It's
automatically
like,
out.
No, they're like, no,
No.
this is a flavor fail.
Flavor fail. All right.
Moving on.
Next year's Community Cup, please build for me a safe sex theme deck around Seed Guardian.
Oh my god.
Love
that would
Maria.
be amazing. I would lose it.
Your opponent has 3 creatures in play. You have a Linvala the Preserver and an Angel token in play. You cast a second Linvala the Preserver. You lucky son of a bitch. What happens? Do you get the token because you had to pick one of the Linvalas due to state-based effects, or are there 3 creatures, 2 Linvalas and the Angel token, on the battlefield when that trigger is checked, so you don't get an additional Angel token?
So, Linvala the Preserver. It is a 5/5 angel for white 4, flying like angels do. She's legendary, which means that the legendary effect's gonna kill her when she enters the battlefield. When Linvala the Preserver enters the battlefield, if an opponent has more life than you, you gain 5 life. When Linvala enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So she has a kind of trigger called an intervening if trigger. These are triggers that basically trigger at a time and also on a condition. And so they say when this time happens, if this thing is true, they trigger. She won't trigger at all because her trigger condition isn't true at the time her trigger tries to trigger. That was a lot of instances.
That
of the
was
word
a
trigger.
lot.
So basically, intervening if triggers check before they go to trigger, if they should. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if a thing is true, they trigger. Is a common intervening if trigger. And then they also check again at the time the trigger resolves to see if it's still true.
Gotcha.
So if you cast Linvala the Preserver as your only creature and your opponent has 1 creature and they sacrifice it to something, then if your opponent controls more creatures, they have 2 creatures. So the trigger is in the stack for making it angel and they sacrifice one of their 2 creatures.
Angel still happens.
Angel won't happen because
Really?
they only have 1 creature.
Oh.
They no longer have more creatures than you at the time the trigger resolves.
Because you have Linvala and they have theirs.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it was true once, but not true the second time.
Yeah. And so intervening if triggers check both upfront and following. And they have to very specifically say when time happens, if thing happens, not when time happens, do a thing if something's true. This is
okay.
A
Complicated.
Chronicler of
Yes.
Heroes says when Chronicler of Heroes enters the battlefield, draw a card if you control a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yes.
He will always trigger every time he enters the battlefield. He doesn't care whether or not you have a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it until his trigger resolves.
Gotcha.
This is rules geekery. Like this is. I wish that they would not print things that looked like intervening if triggers that weren't.
Gotcha.
But they like just turning knobs whenever they can.
Gotcha. So this is an intervening if.
This is an intervening
check
if.
twice.
Yes, it will check twice.
Gotcha.
Okay, I believe this is the last question. Say I cast a spell, my opponent plays a counter spell, then I cast Overwhelming Denial to counter my opponent's counter spell. Is there anything wrong with my opponent casting another counter spell targeting the first spell that I cast rather than countering the Overwhelming Denial?
Nope.
Okay.
All right.
They can counter the other things. Overwhelming Denial can't be countered. Doesn't say anything about other cards. And you can target anything on the stack that you want. On the flip side, if you do this without saying anything in a competitive tournament, be aware that there's a shortcut that says that if you don't say anything and you cast a spell that targets a spell on the stack, it targets the top thing on the stack that it can.
Gotcha. So you'd have to say it. You'd have to be like BT Dubs, not targeting that Overwhelming Denial, targeting this other thing.
Yes.
Gotcha. Sweet.
All right. Well, that's some questions. Is there any
Yes.
other cards you wanted to mention, Rob, before we go on to other things?
There wasn't anything like super weird or complicated. It's all for the most part totally straightforward. There's read cards. They do what they say. That's Wizards has been doing a good job of doing that. There was one surge spell or support spell that didn't target anything except for its support targets.
Oh.
So
it was only a support spell.
Unity of Purpose says support 2 and untap each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
The only targets it has are the support targets. So if you have one creature and you cast Unity of Purpose targeting that creature for its support, and they bounce that creature, you won't get the rest of its text.
Gotcha.
This probably won't matter.
Because you don't have any creatures
but,
to untap.
but if you had 3 creatures, you target 2 of them with Unity of Purpose with support, and they kill both of them,
Gotcha.
then you won't untap the other creature.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So be aware that if all of the targets of a spell are removed, then it's countered. If it has at least one target remaining, then it does what it can.
Wonderful.
Aren't we all just doing what we can?
Yeah, pretty much.
If you have a question here that Judge Rob did not answer, feel free to tweet at us at MtA Cast, and we will hit Rob up for
true.
the answer. Or if your question
We'll
is
just
long,
hit Rob.
Because wait, Megan, we said we don't hit judges.
We don't hit judges. We don't hit cardboard cutouts of judges.
You can go to our website, magictheamateuring.com. We have a contact form there to send us an email. Or if you have a memory, just email us at magictheamateuring@gmail.com. Rob, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can email me at robbit@gmail.com. That's the email address that I use for stuff.
ROBBIT.
Yes, ROBBIT, like Hobbit, but replace the H with an R.
Okay, stick around, Rob. We're gonna do some epic cutest card stuff. What do you
Yeah.
say?
That seems
Are
exciting.
you ready
Okay.
for the biggest announcement, arguably, of the year?
It's very early in the year.
It's like January. Like,
You guys.
Cutest card and grossest card.
All right.
Megan wants to start off with grossest card this time.
That's true.
So let's get gross.
Because as I previously mentioned, otherwise I'm just like I'm the after dinner mint. But to a really
Megan?
good dinner. So you don't really want the mint. It's just there and you feel like you have to take it.
I always want an after
is
dinner
it the
mint.
grossest after dinner mint?
Yes, it's the grossest after dinner mint.
If I had to have a nickname for you, number 1, it would be Magoons. Number 2, it would also be after dinner mint.
Thank you.
You just look like one. I think it's a compliment.
Did you just tell me that I look like an after dinner mint?
You're
Yes.
small and pastel.
You're small and you have pastel hair. People can easily
It's not pastel.
put you in their
right
pocket.
now.
No.
Thanks,
Anyway.
Maria.
You're welcome.
Okay, so honorable mention goes to corpse churn.
Gross.
It's gross, but you know what? Zombies, we see too many of them for them to truly be the grossest.
Oh, they're
anymore, I
they're
feel like.
too
Exactly.
common.
Exactly.
Like the chicken pox. Everyone
Yeah.
has it, not as gross as
shingles.
shingles. Yeah, there you
I
go.
didn't even look.
So, this. Oh God, I can't.
She can't even look at it.
Oh, okay,
This
I'll look at it.
grossest card is loam larva.
Oh,
One in a green
Yuck.
for a gross card.
It doesn't even have mandibles. Like, so
No,
look
what
at that.
do you
Those are
think
like
those are?
tentacles. No,
It's
those
a
are like
larva.
tentacles. They're fully
Oh, you're right.
articulated.
Oh God.
Like they're flexible. They're like little worms on its
don't-
face.
prehensile.
Little worms for its feet. Thanks,
No, for
Rob.
its face.
For its face, little
Yeah,
like
that's
this.
better. That's better. That's better.
All right. I
Okay,
agree
now
with
we
you,
got that out
Megan.
of the way. Now that we ate our before dinner mint.
All right, here's the steak. Cutest card, everybody.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the runners up. And I know there's a lot of people tweeting at me telling me what they thought cutest card should be this time around. And once again, they were suggesting the card that Wizards just waved in front of our faces like, this is the cutest card. And I'm just like, no, Wizards, you can't tell me what to do with the cutest card.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks this card is cute. I have my own opinion, which, as we know on this show, is law. Okay, so runners up.
Yeah.
I thought Eldrazi Mimic was pretty cute. It's got a little snoot,
Oh, it is pretty cute.
and it's like a 2/1.
Yeah.
Adorable. I thought Warping Whale was also cute, which somebody did mention that they thought was cute. Somebody screaming, a little Eldrazi being like, wah! Pretty adorable.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody wanted Baloth Pup to be the cutest card. Guess what? It's not. And it's not even on my list. I just thought I would mention that was the one everyone was talking about. You can take your Baloth pups and shove them. I think it's mildly adorable, but it's nowhere near cutest card.
Maria, I just want to put something out there.
What?
What if at this point Wizards knows that they can't manipulate you into choosing the cutest card?
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're putting out a blatantly cute card to make you not choose that card and to choose the card that they in fact do want you to choose.
Oh my
which
God.
is the more unconventional but arguably more cute card.
That's a great point, because this card that I've chosen for cutest card, I think they actually thought it was cute.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the runner-up is Hedron Crawler.
Runner-up is Hedron Crawler?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Which is pretty cute, and Wizards did think it was cute
Yeah.
because there's cute flavor text. But number 1 cutest card in the set, drum roll please, is Saddleback Lagak.
What?
Saddleback Lagak, he has a saddle. It is a lizard wearing a saddle.
Where is he?
You have to see him. Oh, I've got it.
I got
He's
him.
green. There he is.
Aw, he is a cute little lizard wearing a saddle.
Well, yeah.
That's
He's got a
adorable.
little chubby tummy.
Yeah.
I want to pet his tummy.
Yeah.
Isn't he
He's
cute?
I mean, he's also
so
huge.
cute.
Look at the size of that elf.
Oh, that's true. He's a giant saddleback guy.
I gotta say, the
He's so
saddle
proud.
is
He
what
looks like
really.
he's purring. He's got his eyes
Oh,
closed. And
He looks kind of like a cat.
Listen to this. A good Lagak will carry you through thick and thin. A bad one, well, it's a tasty dinner. What the?
How dare you?
What the F, Goblin Shortcutter?
His name is Raph Slug Eater. I don't think I can trust him anyways.
No, I agree.
The saddle pushed it over the top for me. I mean,
It's adorable.
it's already cute. With
Super
the
cute.
saddle, it's just so cute.
so cute.
Okay.
This is another one by Jason Kang. So the same artist did both the Cutest card and
And the Grossest card?
the Grossest card.
What?
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
We need to shake that man's hand.
I need to slap his face. You.
Let's
I'm
hope
going to
he's not a
certify
judge.
him as a judge first.
Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna walk up to him to shake his hand, and like you grab his hand, and like I'll come from behind you and just slap his face.
So rude. So rude.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what you get when you make a lone larva.
So Saddleback Lagak, I want to see these pictures from your pre-release piles. Tweet them at us.
Yeah.
If you get them, if you get any foil ones, we especially want to see them because,
Yeah,
hoo boy, do I love seeing foils of the Cutest card, you guys.
absolutely.
I saw so many foil prickle boars, it made my day every time I saw one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pick these guys up. I think he's not super good, but he's not terrible. I wouldn't be
He's
embarrassed
perfectly reasonable.
to put him in my deck.
He's a 3/1 for 4 with support 2 when he enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's fine.
totally.
I mean,
Yeah, bro.
Like he's probably like an 18th or 19th card.
Yeah, I would agree.
Nice.
Cutest
Nice.
card usually is not a card I found that is like your first pick through your 12th
No.
pick. Honestly, the only one was Sigiled Starfish
Oh,
that I can like.
he was
honestly
so
remember.
cute.
He was very
pretty
cute.
Little cute little
Maybe
starfish.
that'll be your restriction draft next time. You have to draft the Cutest card.
Oh,
I kind of thought that if we ever got asked back to the Community Cup, I kind of thought maybe they would say you have to draft
Yeah.
the Cutest card in every
Yeah.
pack, and I was like that would
I
be
agree.
adorable. Anyway,
Yeah.
think about that, Wizards. I think it's a good stipulation. Well, everybody, that's our show. But before we go, we want to make a big announcement that if you haven't heard, we'll tell you right now.
Yeah, Maria and I have recently joined the writing crew over at Daily MTG.
Yes, it's a site. It's a website, dailymtg.com,
Yes.
that has lots of wonderful articles on it and points you to other great resources in the Magic community. So,
Absolutely.
Oof.
My very first article for them, featuring a lot of sweet, awesome pre-release stories, both from individual players and from different stores across the world. There's some stories from a store in Australia and one in the UK.
yeah, it's really cool.
So you can go check that out, and please do share it, read it, do all that jazz with it.
Do you know what day of the week you're slotted in?
We're Monday.
You're Monday. So
My first
that's
one
a good day.
is Thursday.
What?
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay.
My first article will be out this Thursday, and it's on release day.
Oh my goodness.
I believe it's. Wait, maybe I'm lying. Let me check.
I think you are lying. I think we're Mondays.
Well, no.
We can't both be Mondays. Mark Rosewater's on Monday.
We can't all be Monday, Megan.
We can't all be Mondays.
Yeah, 14th.
Oh,
I'm
well,
release day on the 14th.
I don't know what days of the week are.
At least that's what I believe. When I believe it will be released, that's what I have in my calendar. So
Well, all right. Check out Maria's this Thursday. Check out mine as soon as you hear me say this sentence.
it's a great article.
Now.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of new writers that have joined the team, including Kenji, the wonderful streamer, friend of the show. Gabby Spartz has joined the team.
Yes.
It's
also
just a great
wonderful
crew.
strummer.
Drummer.
A wonderful drummer. And tons of other great faces.
Yeah, and if you guys are having any exciting ideas for building new decks or brewing with Oath of the Gatewatch, I personally would like to know. Just send us an email, magictheamateuring@gmail.com, if anything has sparked a great idea for a deck in you that you're going to try out at your first FNM. That's what I want to know about. The first Oath of the Gatewatch FNM, shoot me an email. I want to know what you're going to do, what you're excited to play with. Maybe you've got a perfect card for your deck, and then you're like, oh, Oath had the perfect card and made this deck awesome. I wanna know about that. So yeah, that's really exciting news, and we're really thankful to Wizards for giving us the opportunity and diversifying the voices of Magic writers out there.
Totally.
And as we always tell you, Magic the Amateuring is available on iTunes, magictheamateuring.com, and on Twitter at MTAcast. Before we go, Megan's got a Christmas present here. It's a little belated, but it's from our good friend Kevin.
Oh, God.
Here you
Here we
go.
go.
Sent Megan a present in the mail.
Merry Rhino Christmas.
Merry Rhino Christmas. What could it be, Megan?
Fuck you, Kevin.
Sounds like old Siege Nick has delivered you a present.
Oh, it's so beautifully wrapped in Post-it notes.
It really is.
Do you want me to hold your microphone?
I've got it.
Okay.
Oh my god. To be fair, these are amazing.
They're all altered siege rhinos.
They're altered Siege Rhinos.
What is this one's theme?
What is this? What? Oh, it's my name. Wait, it's MTA cast.
Oh,
we have rhinos with MTA cast.
And this is the symbol.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we
It's
will tweet a picture of this.
One is dressed up like Santa. One is engulfed in flames.
This one has a U.S. flag on it.
The American
This one is
siege rhino.
glamorous. This is a
This
fabulous
one is just
siege rhino.
all over the place. If you would like to see these rhinos more up close, we will tweet a picture of them.
And
Or
you also
probably a
have
series of
play
pictures
set.
of-
And I also got a play set.
There you go.
These
These are totally legal though,
Kevin.
right, Rob?
Um,
They're the puffy paint, so I don't know.
they're very thick.
Yeah.
This one has a giant googly eye.
Well, that's why he sent me this play set of this
For when
play
you
set of-
actually play them.
For when I
I love this rhino that's saying good luck, high five.
I know, right? It's so my personal favorite is the American flag.
He's a
It's
patriot.
just so random.
He's a patriot, Meghn.
We will tweet a photo of these amazing.
These are
glitter
fantastic.
paint. This is the only thing that could ever make me be marginally okay with a Siege Rhino. I didn't say like.
You said marginally okay.
I said be marginally okay.
We've got to
with-
decorate our set in here with this somehow.
Yes, we do. We'll put them up.
Okay, we'll
for
put
sure.
them up. They're great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Very thoughtful.
Yes. Still meant what I said earlier, buddy. Oh, we think you're great. We think you're great.
Oh, remember, you can support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/MTAcast. Get over there and become our friend. We have t-shirts that you can get on Patreon. We have bracelets. We have stickers. And on our website, you can straight up buy t-shirts. And we're going to have the size 3XL starting pretty soon. And we're going to restock that women's XL shirt that was pretty popular size. So I'll update everybody on Twitter when that happens. So follow us at MTAcast when we have more shirts in stock.
Absolutely. Remember to check out this video as well as other excellent videos over at Tularian Community College. Wonderful YouTube channel. The professor has great informative videos, and we love being a part of it. So
Yeah, we're
check out our
adjunct
video.
professors.
I love being an adjunct professor.
I thought I would need my master's for this. Turns out I don't.
Nope.
I'm horny_unicorny online. Come say hi.
And I am Ice Cream Socialist.
Thanks, Rob, again for coming and joining us.
Yay!
Love coming on the show anytime.
Yeah.
We love having you.
Tell Rob that you think he's great.
Yes.
However you feel like it.
And don't
I need the
slap a
ego.
judge.
And remember, don't slap a judge or a cardboard cutout of a judge.
No.